Welcome to The Dream Journal. From the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, The Dream Journal is a weekly podcast where we explore the power of nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with listeners like you.
In the house behind, the life you find is something understood. So there's no
A dream can be meaningful even if you don't know what it means.
we are not alone. Water over stone, even if you're by yourself.
And today's music, created fresh for you today by Rick Kleffel, is called Sapiential. We are all sapiens after all. Can you do more than talk in talk therapy? Our guest, Michael Mollura, speaks about some of his creative approaches to psychotherapy, including music therapy, dreamwork, Jungian approaches, and more. I am your host, Catherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork, and welcome to The Dream Journal. I'd like to share a dream. I love to start off the show by sharing just a dream moment of mine, in which there's a young boy, 10 years old or so, who has created a book saying why he doesn't want to do a creative project. And in the book is these beautiful images of spaceships and rockets and moons, and he's angry. He does not want to do a project. And I find myself going, what's going on here? And he thinks about it. It's interesting that he responds, and he says, oh, so maybe this book is the project. So is there a way that my resistance is the work? Is this the work I'm doing when I say, no, not that? Or when I'm meditating and I can't stop thinking, maybe that's the work. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Dr. Mollura, so glad to have you on the show. Am I saying that right? Mollura?
It's Mollura.
Mollura, thank you so much, Dr. Michael. Glad to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here, and such a big fan of what you're putting out there. And the Festival of Dreams was fantastic, and you're such a wonderful, beautiful contribution to soul.
Wow. Taking it in. Thank you, Michael.
Put it in.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
All right. Well, let me introduce Michael here. Dr. Michael Mollura is a licensed clinical psychologist with a PhD from Pacifica Graduate Institute and a master's degree in performance studies from New York University's Tisch School of the Arts. You can find Michael at drmichaelmollura.com, and Mollura is Mollura, drmichaelmollura.com. And we're here today talking about creative approaches to psychotherapy. So Michael, you're a psychotherapist, and you've done a lot of work with clients. What are some of the approaches that you like to do, maybe that are a little bit out of the box, a little bit out beyond the norm?
Okay, well, as I want to set the tone here for also understanding that everything we're doing is within a clinical frame. So, we want to honor the clinical frame as much as possible. We're not breaking boundaries. We're not doing anything that we shouldn't be doing ethically. It's like it's a very interesting idea when you come into this as an artist, which is what I did. I was a composer for almost all my life, and with a love for psychology ever since I was a kid. So I always wanted to combine the two. When I started doing this work or becoming more interested in it, it was Jung that brought me in the opening of the creative unconscious and the collective unconscious, and being able to allow where creativity can have an expression. Regular therapy wasn't really working for me as a kid when I was younger and doing therapy, and just coming in and having a stone cold figure sort of stare at me and not answer my questions and not interact.
Well, what do you think about that?
Right, exactly. And the one thing that I put out there in my bios and wherever you see my name, if you're looking for therapy, it's like I am a human being. I sit here I'm not much different from how I'm going to be on this podcast. I'm very transparent. And I love interacting with people and opening up their minds and their souls and their spirits into this idea of what it means to be a human being. And it's always surprising to me how probably, 7 out of 10 people don't have a relationship to themselves on a creative level, or they're repressing it. So it's kind of like what Freud talks about with sexuality. I do that with creativity. It's like, if you're repressing it, if you're keeping it down, I believe that's what's causing symptoms.
So the suppression of creativity is one of the things that causes symptoms like neuroticism or bad habits, bad behavior. Wow. Okay.
Impulses. Yeah.
Impulse.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of the groundwork of it. And it's kind of interesting because as I think about that, even as a concept, it's really the basis of what I do. And it's like I'm saying, we're going to have a conversation. It's not going to be a normal conversation. It's going to go deep into your intimate history and your memories and your past. But I'm also interested in what your world sounds like. And that's where my focus becomes as a composer. I'm listening for how your world sounds, as if I'm listening to a symphony, as if I'm listening to a sonata or a great piece of music by Leonard Cohen or something else. It's like every single piece of expression is music. And it's part of this process of being able to receive and contribute to a person's psyche to feel better. It's all about reducing suffering. And I don't believe that therapy needs to be like this thing that you can't look forward to. I want it to be I hope that my clients actually really look forward to our sessions, because it can be fun, and it's all about learning and individuating and growing together and using creative means to get there. And it starts with me being the way I am, just being
Right.
open.
Right. Right. Now we're going to get into a lot more in the second half about your musical approach, because I know that, as you said, that is a core part of who you are, and you have degrees in music, and one of the things you do is you set dreams to music, and we had a whole episode about this a year and a half, 2 years ago, which I'll put a link to in the notes, and we're going to get back to it after the break. And so I think this is one of the really exciting things that you do, Michael, is that you bring in the music, the kind of the acoustics. You described it as the acoustics of the unconscious. And so,
Yes.
yeah, I think that's fabulous. I want to get to that. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about your Jungian approaches, because I know that this is something that you're very interested in. And and yet it's a huge process to become a Jungian analyst, and there's kind of this barrier to being a official analyst, as I understand it. And yet we all can read. And Jung was very prolific. He has many books. And I wonder if you could say a little bit about your approaches, and including some of your favorite books that you find that are accessible, that would be helpful for teaching me to how to work in a kind of a more Jungian manner with our dreams.
Well, I want to just make one thing clear. One thing that I've done is that I haven't stuck with the pure approach as the analyst. I've opened it up. I've become more a psychologist who uses Jungian, Hillman work, von Franz work, Eric Fromm, and I make a very big distinction between also what I consider to be depth psychology, and I use a lot of Freud as well in my work, but what I consider to be depth psychology, and then what is cognitive behavioral therapy, which is two different approaches to all this, but my approach is more leaning towards the depth and the soul of the work. And what does that look like? It really means that we're holding space for the numinous, for the sacred, for the components of the unconscious that don't normally get addressed in, I'd say, straight up psychotherapy. So some people will use alchemy. I use alchemy in the sense of like just using the images of fire and water and earth and to expand on meaning. The other piece to this, of course, is just recognizing that along with that comes some people use the symbols of the of the archetypes, for example, as a lead in to try to understand patterns and ways of being. One of the essential formats of my therapy, which again I want to make it clear, I'm no, maybe some things I do are original, but it's all based on the inspiration of those who taught me, like Robert Romanishin, Dr. Robert Romanishin, but the concept here is to allow for the symbols, for the images, for the felt sense of life to show up and be able to have their expressions to say what's going on. We don't approach, and I'm going to say we, and if I say we, the whole bunch of people are probably going to say, well, that's not me. But my approach, generally speaking, is I don't treat symptoms as symptoms. Symptoms are symbols. Symptoms are the ways in which the unconscious is attempting to express itself and to have a dialogue. I don't look at symptoms as there's something wrong with you. Yet clinically, we do have to hold certain space for, if they're showing for ADD or if they're showing for some of the letters that get put in front of their names, like diagnosis, clinical diagnosis, we want to hold space for what that might mean. But like when someone comes in and goes, I have bipolar and I'm trying to regulate my emotions, I don't treat it like your brain is broken or your soul is broken. It's like, what is that speaking to you? What is trying to emerge from you? What is happening in that space that you can't regulate your feelings, or what is that sadness? And so I think one of the most healing components of this work is to be able to really connect with somebody and allow them to not feel like they are crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thinking they're crazy.
Right.
And I really like to say, I think really, I'm more from the Bukowski world that says some people never go crazy. What boring lives they must live, and I think, and I really think that we're all kind of bordering on that experience of something that is pushing us to be bigger, to be something that's compassionate, empathic, and kind. And not all of us can find it. So how do we do it? We find it there.
So having compassion for our own craziness, like kind of the dream I was sharing, where the boy in the dream thinks that this thing he's created is pathological. There's something wrong with it.
Right.
Yeah, but then he goes, wait a minute, maybe this is who I am. This is true for me right now.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's not crazy. Maybe that's okay. That's wonderful. Yeah.
And now that's your dream, right?
Yes.
Because it almost sounds like you're dreaming someone else's dream. It's a really fascinating dream, because I guess in your place in that dream is also your observer.
Yeah, it's very common for me, actually.
Fascinating.
Yeah. I'm sure it's very telling. I have a lot of stories about that.
I'd love to hear them. They're always interesting, because that is all about the observing ego, as you probably know. Being very aware, having a transcendent function with all the work that you're doing. You're more of an observer than a participant sometimes, and again, it's really important to be able to observe what you're experiencing, because you're watching the play.
Yes.
You're literally watching the play of your psyche that is attempting to tell you a story that's going to help you with something you're working on. And now that's kind of like how I would even start looking at that dream a little bit, is what's the mood of that dream?
Oh, we could definitely go there. I mean, I'm happy to talk about one of my dreams anytime if you'd like to. I mean,
Yeah,
sure.
sure. I'll go anywhere where you want to go as far as
Yeah.
that's concerned. Because when you really, also it's all about the questions you ask
Uh-huh.
and the interaction you have with the person, right? So here you have this beautiful, interesting dream that you're engaging with this boy. I mean, most people would immediately kind of assume, oh, the boy's probably her inner child or something like that, or some. So I don't immediately go there. One of the things when I talk clinically, and I think, it's important for people to understand, I teach how to work with dreams in the dyad, in the
Ah.
container.
Well,
And I
let's get
work with,
into some of what you teach about because
yeah,
yeah, that'd be
yeah,
great. Let's
because
do
the
that.
first things, it's like most people, believe it or not, most therapists are not taught how to work with dreams
Def,
specifically.
yeah.
There'll be vague references to it, and they approach it in different ways. But one of the things you want to do is allow a dream to sit like a piece of music.
Mm.
You don't have to rush to an interpretation. You don't have to rush to understanding why you had this dream immediately. First, you want to sit with what is the mood, kind of like a piece of music. We're going to talk out loud what usually happens on an unconscious level when a musician creates a piece of music. They often don't sit there and go, gee, I'm going to create a sad piece of music, right? Or I'm going to create a happy one. Some people do, but it's amazing what happens when you sit at a piano and you just go. And we'll talk a lot about that maybe more in the second half,
Yeah, yeah.
because it gets into this really fascinating idea of the role of improvisation in the container. But one of the things I set up as a teacher is, first you want to kind of take out the myths about what you think you're supposed to do with a dream when it shows up in the container. Don't rush to an interpretation. The biggest problem I think I've heard is like, hey, you only get 45 minutes to 50 minutes with a client. And what happens if they come in with a dream and it's like takes up half the time, right? But sometimes it's worth it, and sometimes it's like you want to go wherever they're going. But I start with kind of like saying, resist the temptation to interpret the dream literally. And that's got to be the top tip for everybody, including those of you at home who are not therapists.
So what do you mean literally? Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What kind of mistake do people tend to make with dreams? If we could call it a mistake.
Okay, so if
Yeah.
I get a little intense with some of the images with this, I'm sure it'll be fine. But it's like, for example, a person who dreams of being molested, a person who dreams that they were, emotionally or physically abused, the person who actually dreams of having sex with a family member, or something really forbidden, something completely absurd on a most people's conscious level, is not to be meant that you have been abused, or you're sick, or you are sexualizing an object in your family or something like that. In fact, it's actually more about what is that person saying to you in your psyche. What is the energy, what is the vibration of that person that you're interacting with? In your case, here's a boy, right? And you're having an interaction with the boy about a project, and you're looking at what are the obstacles. Now, this could kind of get really simplified in a sense of like, gee, I wonder what kind of project we're talking about here, and what are you working on?
Oh yeah, right.
But instead of going into the literal interpretation so fast, we first want to ask just basic questions to kind of just let the person know you hear the dream and you feel it. So you'd ask a question like, what is that mood of the dream for you? You'd be amazed how many times you get a person talking about a dream, being in an airplane, and there's turbulence and they think they're going to die, and oh my God, it's crazy in there. And then after they tell you the dream and you go, what is the mood of the dream? And they go, it was exciting. And I'm like, okay, that changes the meaning of the dream completely.
Totally. Yes, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now, in your case, what's the mood of the dream with you interacting with this little boy?
Well, there's another figure which I haven't mentioned yet, which is that there's the mother of the boy. So there's the boy and this book that he's created, and then there's a mother who's trying to get him to do the project. Because presumably it's a school project or something, and so the mother is like at wit's end, can't make her kid do what she wants her kid to do, and I am like sitting back there going, I think we're missing something here, and so the mood of the dream. So, but then the mother goes, you handle it or something, or I offer to step in, and I just go over and I look at the book, and it's like interesting because there's a lot of feeling in this, like the red of the pages where all the spaceships and the moons has a lot of energy, and the boy has a lot of energy. So he is like angry and annoyed and I don't know. I almost said, well, I'll just say it, almost close to crying. Like there was something very frustrated in the boy. But for me, I was more an observer, like you said, a little more back, and I was curious. I was like really curious. It's like there's something here that we're missing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I start asking him, how did you make this book? He starts to tell me about how he made it. I don't remember any of those details. And then he says, oh, this is the project. This is the work. This is what I needed to do. And then it just trench and drains out of the room. The boy just relaxes. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. We really got somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That's a long answer to what is the mood of the dream. But it was
It is. It's so interesting how asking what the mood of the dream can bring up so much more information. That's another thing that I tell my students, for example. Be open to understanding that there's going to be more material that comes into a dream once you start asking questions.
Yep.
So like a dream that is 3 sentences long. Also, I mean, again, if you want some of the tips, then the things we talk about in when I'm teaching, it's like never negate or say when someone says there's an insignificant dream. There's no such thing as an insignificant dream. Mm-hmm. And if it's 1 sentence, it could change your life.
Yeah. And
often it's like it can start that way because it goes with what is the mood of the dream and what images are kind of calling to you in this dream. So if I were to ask you all right, now, first of all, we have this mood that's the main mood I caught from what you were talking about was curious.
Yes. As the dreamer, the dream self felt curiosity.
Right.
Yes.
So now we're getting into the concept of, okay, instead of anxiety, you didn't go to anxiety, you didn't go to depression, right? You didn't go to a helplessness because you can't figure out what to tell this boy or whatever, right? It's like you're going to curiosity. So that makes the dream a little bit more about how you and your brain is experiencing the dream as something that's part of you. Yeah. And something you're curious about yourself and what makes this book or this project.
Well, this brings back to the earlier question you asked about being the observer, because I many times I've had similar dreams where I was the mother figure and I was trying to get the boy to try to do something.
Right. Now you see that changes the dream.
It totally changes things. When I was the observer watching the mother and the son, then I could really have this healthy curiosity, so.
Right. And the healthy curiosity is healthy. It's great. Yeah. It's what we want. Mm-hmm, right. Mm-hmm. And I always, I confirm and validate that with my clients. You don't even have to understand what it's going on. Just to have the healthy curiosity is probably the best kind of mood we want moving into dream work. Does
I
that
love
make
that.
sense? Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, no, it
So
resonates, and that's
the other
exciting.
piece here that I want to make sure it's clear to everyone, including, people who are just enthusiastic about dreams and therapists, there is no right or wrong way to interpret a dream. I don't care who you are, if you're Jung, Freud, and themselves, or anybody else. It's like Jung needed Freud to understand his dreams. Freud needed Jung to understand his dreams. We all need each other. We need a reception. And that's what kind of leads back to this concept of the music of dreams, because we need to hear the music of what is going on a deeper level. And a dream is a piece of art. I make this analogy all the time. It's like if we walk into a gallery together and we're looking at a painting, what do you see? What do you feel? What are you hearing? Where do you go in your body? And like being in an art gallery, we're looking at an image and we may have completely different interpretations of what we're looking at. One's not wrong, one's not right. But the thing is, what's trying to emerge from that experience? And we do that together.
A dream is a piece of art. I think that's a lovely way to describe your approach, and also the touching back into the music. Because in the second half, we're going to get back into more of the music. I love the way that you're talking about music as a kind of emotional feeling, as well as literally what you hear through your ears. Because music is something that's extremely fundamental to human beings, and it touches me certainly, and I think most people at a really deep level. And so that paying attention to the music of the dreams, both the literal sounds and, as we'll get into, the actual sound scapes that you create for some of these dreams, is a way of connecting with the emotion of the dream, and the power of that emotion. The value of that emotion is that it helps us move and make connections.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you get into this concept of, what is a dream and what is the function of a dream. It's about opening something up for you that's seeking healing. And not running to an interpretation, not running to an intellectualization. Hey, listen, we're all pretty smart people here.
Right.
And we're all ready to just show off. And this is what I tell my students again: don't show off.
Don't show off. Oh,
Don't
wow.
show
Okay.
off. Just
Show up, but don't show off.
show up, but don't show off. Just be with the piece of art.
Okay.
Allow it to seep into every sense and just be with it for a second without freaking out. Now the other thing about these sort of dreams is the concept that we have the temptation to intellectualize too much. But the bottom line is, if you ask the right questions, again, the mood, what are the images? What are the images emoting? What is coming out of those images? I'm all about images, as you can imagine. And to me, images are the soul's language. And with images, you're just kind of going into the space of the dream as if you're looking at or hearing musical notes. And each image is talking to each other. So it's like, it's old school, but it's amazing how much it works. I might start going into associative work with you. So when I think of this little kid, what comes to mind? Can you picture him? What does he look like? And I don't know if you really want to take
Yeah.
go there. Looks like you.
Well,
It looks like you
let's,
do.
Yeah, well, of
I'm-
course I do, but I think we're
I'm
gonna.
good with it if you
Yeah.
do. But
Well, let's save that to the second half. We'll see if
But you
somebody else
see-
calls in. But yeah, I see where you're going.
Right,
And
you see,
my
then-
mind immediately went to about 5 different places, so I see why that's
because-
valuable.
and right down to, is it daytime? Is it nighttime? Do you smell anything? Do you see anything? And again, I know I'm going to freak out a lot of people, because I know a lot of people love lucid dreaming. I'm not a big fan of lucid dreaming, because I think we need to know what we need to know. And then with the right questions, we can actually go deeper to try to understand what the unconscious is trying to tell us. Now, I'm not saying don't do lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is awesome, and we all do it. But when it comes to therapy, I think it's really important to just say, what are the facts? Where are you? Is it daytime, nighttime? Are you in an environment that you know? What does it smell like in there? Is there anything familiar? Is there something not familiar? And being able to get into the phenomenology of the dream. That's a fancy word for saying lived experience of the details of a dream. I find that a lot of therapists will just ignore details.
Mm-hmm.
And details are is where the real joy is. That's where
right.
the real
That's where the
insight
juiciness
comes
is.
from. Yeah, that's where the juice is.
Yeah. Michael, thank you so much. This is Dr. Michael Mollura. We're having this great conversation about creative psychotherapy, different ways of approaching dreams, and how to deepen the dream without interpreting the dream is maybe one way to say that. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. You'll get to hear a sample of one of Dr. Mollura's musical pieces if we have time for it. So Dr. Michael Mollura's webpage is drmichaelmollura.com, and you spell Mollura, Mollura, drmichaelmollura.com. The Dream Journal is broadcast live from the KSQD studios in Santa Cruz and co-broadcast live in San Jose by KCXU and also up at KOWS in Sonoma. And we are podcast everywhere, including now full-length videos available on YouTube at Experiential Dreamwork. So check us out there. So we will be right back. You are listening to The Dream Journal, and I am Catherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork. I'd like to give a shout out to our current streamers. I'd love to have those people streaming live. We have streamers from Santa Cruz, Aptos, Sacramento, Fresno, Whittier, Aurora, California, and then Atlanta, Georgia. Hello, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. A couple Canadians joining us from British Columbia and Quebec. There's Connecticut and Rumford, Rhode Island. And we have a listener from Hungary. So glad to have you all listening live. So people all over the world are interested in their dreams. If you'd like to help us change the world consciousness to increase awareness of dreams, consider subscribing to the Dream Journal on your favorite podcast app. And perhaps you'd like to leave us a rating or a review. Or maybe share an episode on your social media. Spreading information about the journal helps spread the interest in dreaming. But really, most importantly, I encourage you to talk to a friend. Maybe tell them about the podcast, or just say, I had a dream last night. I'd like to have you listen to my dream. And you might just find your next dream sharing buddy. Follow the Dream Journal on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and now YouTube by looking for @Experiential Dreamwork. And next week, we welcome to the journal someone who is a dream worker, a druid, and an animist. Our guest will be Laura Smith-Riva, who brings dreams to life with natural dream work. So we'll meet Laura next week. So today we're talking to Dr. Michael Mollura about creative psychotherapy, different ways of exploring dreams, and a lot different approaches to dream work.
To bring up one thing, which
Perfect.
I think it's always really important to make sure, people are listening. They want to know more about their dreams, and some people are freaked out by their dreams. Some people are brought into the curiosity of their dreams. And, your lead into this part just really made me feel something, which was this concept of raising consciousness through dreams. And I'm all about this. This is one of the things that I think is so important about dreams. They are a component that I really do feel can, if we take on dreams and know that we almost have an ethical duty to hear them, to give them space, and to let those dreams breathe and be received and shared. That is where healing as a tribe, as a species, can take place. it's amazing when you bring up a dream, like music again. Dreams have a vibration, they have a quality, and it's something that it's almost universal. Whenever I do a workshop with like 100 people in front of me and I bring up any kind of dream, almost everyone says, yeah, I've had that dream before. Oh my God, yes, that's so. But it's important that you recognize that those dreams are there as a way of connecting to others as well as to yourself. And don't be alarmed by those images. Again, everybody, if you have dreams of, say, suicidal ideation, it doesn't mean you want to commit suicide. If you have dreams of having a heart attack, it doesn't mean you're going to have a heart attack. Yes, premonition dreams have a lot of truth to them, but we want to be careful not to just leap into conclusions about things like that.
I love that.
So
Okay.
don't be afraid of your dreams. They're just images, like you're watching a movie, but the movie is for you.
A very personal movie.
Yes, it is.
Michael, I see we have a caller. So I think we have Ellen on the line. Hi, Ellen. Is this Ellen from Santa Cruz?
Yeah, it is.
Wonderful. Thanks to have you calling in.
I had, sorry. I always have long, I often wake up like, oh, I have all these big, long dreams, and that happened this morning, but I didn't remember them. But then I went back to sleep and I woke up with this one short little thing that is so peculiar and so specific. So I just wanted to share it.
Sure.
And it was just this one statement. And it was that Judy Garland said that all humans or humanity or something like that would be dead by 2024. That was like this statement. And I was
Okay.
like, what? That is so specific. Why would I ever
Right.
dream that Judy Garland said such a thing? So I went right to, of course, Google, and now it's AI, and found out that there were a few people that made that prediction and actually used that year, 2024. It's also 2025, like right around now. And I went, well, that's so curious, but it wasn't Judy Garland. So I
Okay.
went to see if Judy Garland said anything like that. And actually, in 2024, it was a 60-year anniversary of what she said in 1964. And she said quite the opposite. She was saying that she was hoping that humans would be more gentle and more kind with each other. So I
Wow.
that's really interesting. It was the
Oh,
60s.
thank
Yeah,
you,
it is.
Ellen. That's very
And-
interesting. Would you
and-
like to
and
see
that
what
was-
Michael has to say? Would you like to
Yeah,
see if
but I
Michael
just
has a
add
question?
I just want to add why Judy Garland. Okay, I've been teaching music to really young kids, K through second graders, and I have showed them or had them listen to Judy Garland's "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," one of the songs I've introduced. So there is a little
Classic.
bit of Judy Garland going on in my life with
Right.
introducing that song.
Ellen,
But-
I don't think I knew you were a music teacher. I know you've called a few times, but I don't think we ever got to that part of the conversation.
Well, that's what I've been doing lately. And I'm
Lovely, fabulous. Oh, perfect timing with this guest here.
Well, that's awesome that you're teaching music, and I think that the dream is probably brushing up against that vocation, and
Yeah.
what it means to you. Now, again, you want to start with what do you feel the mood of the dream is? Is it scary, or what kind of mood is it?
It wasn't even like a dream. It was just this last little segment. You know how sometimes you wake up, you just remember the last thing. So I don't even know what what came prior to that. It was just when I woke up, that little statement was Judy Garland said humanity or all humans would be dead by 2024, and I just went, what a weird, peculiar thing that I put in my
Okay,
head.
so your response to the statement or the image is, again, it sounds like some kind of curiosity. You're like, why is this there? Why
Yeah,
is this
exactly.
happening?
Always curious. Absolutely.
You're not really responding literally to the content.
No. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah,
how
see, that's
curious.
interesting. Because again, one way into the dream is to try to understand what happened in 2024.
Right. Maybe
And
some
to
big
try-
change.
It's a big change of some kind, or something happened, or there's something that's bringing.
Well, wow, a
it in.
big thing did happen in 2024, didn't it?
Well,
And it
what
is
are you
kind of,
thinking of?
and it is kind of leading toward more, negatively on humanity. I'm thinking of the current nincompoops in the office of the presidency.
Right, sure. And maybe there is a call to you to want to be able to embrace creativity in music appreciation and others in your needing to contend with that shift in the culture of the country.
And what's
that's a
also
calling.
and what's also interesting, well, that's what I do through music with the young kids. And what's also interesting is that when I asked this to Google, which again is now AI, they gave me a clip. There was like, 60 years ago, this is what she said in 19, and it was on like some Facebook post. There must be some Judy Garland Facebook page or something. And when I clicked on it, it was a little video clip of her in 1964 calling for people to be, humanity, to whatever, to be gentler and kinder. And that is exactly the message I'm constantly teaching these TK through second graders through music, through different, songs. It's
Well,
all
that piece
about
of music, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, is very idealistic and sweet and yearning.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to bring it even more in. Like I feel like the message is just keep bringing Judy's message of kinder and gentler. And why I would attribute her saying the opposite is just so bizarre to me. I have no idea.
Well, thank you, Ellen. I'm so glad that
thank
you
you.
called.
It's a
Thank
beautiful.
you for letting me share that.
Of course. All right, take care.
Bye bye.
Yeah, that's so sweet. And I love it that we had a music reference right there.
Yes.
And Judy Garland.
You see, it's interesting how also her mind is holding on to the Judy Garland, and then when you feed that into AI, then it can go all kinds of directions. Where if I was going to work with Helen, I would want to go deeper into her experience of being a teacher.
Yes, yeah.
Right, and what that's like for her. What does that mean for her? Is it posing any kind of challenges at the moment as well?
Right.
The reason why it just came up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of my associations with Judy Garland herself is that she was a child actress and she never really recovered. I mean, she in some ways she seemed like she kind of got stuck in that child stardom and just never really moved on.
Yeah.
In her life, and like that's very tender. I feel very compassionate for her as a human being.
Yeah, she could also be a perfect image of what's happened to the country.
Yeah, right.
That the person is bringing in as a symbol of our own addiction and our own emotional dysregulation and our own tragic story. And all that kind of stuff. You can go there as well. That's why I think it's also important when you're teaching or when you're working with dreams, understand the cultural images and what they mean to the person. And what I was saying earlier, which is don't freak out when you're doing this work, because the questions they're going to tell you what the dream means.
The questions. What do you mean? The questions
so you
that
ask
we ask
questions, asking the right questions about the images. What does that image evoke for you? What does it bring out for you? What music is emanating from that image?
So, Michael, this is great. I want to get to your music because I'm excited to play just a little piece of this. Do you want to say anything to set this up? We're not going to play the whole clip, but just to say what you do, like that this was a live event, that sort of thing.
So what I do is I gather about 4 or 5 different musicians, mostly Sufi world music, improvisational type musicians, people who I know can go with the flow and feel out energy and vibrations and be able to go where they need to go. And they're also people I've used on soundtracks, so they're very excellent. They're excellent musicians. But we gather and we might sit in a circle, all the musicians, and then we invite people to come into the middle of the circle and tell a dream. Any dream. We don't know what the dream is. We don't know what's about to happen. And sometimes it's gotten pretty dramatic. Other times it's just been a very beautiful soulful experience. The acoustics of the unconscious become alive in a room, because what happens is they start saying, okay, I had a dream I was a little boy, and immediately the musicians start to improvise to it as if we're scoring the dream.
Okay.
So what you're going to hear is a participant. This is from a live event, I believe, if you picked the one I think you did.
I believe so.
And this is live, so the quality may not be the greatest, but it's actually going through a PA. But the woman who's speaking, we never met her before. She's just there as a participant, and then we're 5 musicians, and we're going to put music to her images.
Great. Okay. Well, I will post the whole piece of music on the episode page so that you can hear it, and that the way that the music, so as you mentioned, you alluded to, that you are a soundtrack creator.
Yeah.
That you have actually created soundtracks to movies and TV shows and things like that. And so and if you start to listen to these things, as after meeting you, I really tuned into the music that plays behind the dialogue. And it really has a huge impact on the feeling of the moment.
Yes. So exactly. And you want to think about what I'm doing is the same thing that a composer does when he works with a director. So you tell me a dream, and now I have you become the director and tell me what kind of music you want in the scene.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yeah.
if you tell me that you want, it's funny, like this is, there's an event taking place, I'm walking along a beach, but you think you want it to be funny, I'm going to compose a different piece of music. But if the mood is somber and so forth, then I might come in with a minor chord and be able to kind of discuss how the music would set the tone for the dream. Now I'm working with the patient as if they are an artist. This is their piece of art, and this is the music they want for their dream. Well, it's about improvisation and the importance of understanding that when 2 people are in a room and there's a transference and a countertransference, we're talking about the energy and the vibration between 2 people who are connecting. Right? So we're improvising. We're moving through something that's very unique and beautiful. When 2 musicians, jam or are communicating with each other through sounds, this is what you're listening to right now. I'm playing piano. There's a cello, there's a sitar, and there's a couple of percussionists, and we're all connecting to each other. And we're looking at each other. And we're listening to the images of the dream and bringing out the acoustics of the person's unconscious. So you might ask, what does your dream sound like? If it were a piece of music, what would it sound like? Sometimes it's jazz, sometimes it's classical, sometimes it's rock, sometimes it's vociferous, sometimes it's just noise. Like John Cage, my favorite composer, would say, noise is art, noise is music. All music is images too. And all speaking to us.
Michael, I had this thought that that in some ways therapy is improvisation. Like we're 2 instruments, and this conversation, exactly, and that the way that we relate to each other is by improvising together. Love that.
And Jung would say it's the bridge between the brain and soul. When you're improvising, you are connected. Brain, which is organism and survival. Ego. And soul, which is observant. That's why you're observing in your dream. You're more soulful. You're more connected to the collective experience of observing how things are going in your dreams, which is really interesting. That says that you're more hooked into your own transcendence. But like when you're improvising, you're allowing the vibrations between different human beings to connect with images that are happening in the moment. And that's what makes it so special. So when you go to a dream music event, concert, we are literally creating a concert based on whatever dreams are going to show up.
Right. Okay. So the concert of dreams, the different
concert of dreams is kind of what it looks like. And there's a healing experience for the person because they're feeling the concept of empathy becomes really important here. Am I hearing your dream correctly, or am I not?
Which is super important when you're improvising, is to listen to the other musicians and listen to other people in the conversation, other people on the planet.
And to make a very strong distinction that this is not music therapy. This is psychotherapy.
Okay.
We're actually tuning into the unconscious.
Right.
So when people in my work, you'll say to me, "Oh, I'm feeling depressed. I had an awful week. This happened, that happened," and I might say, "What does that sound like to you if it was a piece of music?" And how often they go right to a piece of music.
Okay. The soundtrack of the unconscious. So Michael Mollura, thank you so much for being on the show. Michael's webpage is drmichaelmollura.com, Mollura, and you can contact him there. I wonder if you have anything you want to add, maybe if last encouragements or something about what you're working on or inviting people to something. We have just about a minute left.
Well, I am working on a book, which is the subject of what we're talking about here, the acoustics of the unconscious. Not sure that will be the title, but this is what I'm working on. I'm also working on a lot of music right now for dreams, and there's you know, I'm always seeing patients and working with them. I also want to make it clear I don't always just do dream music with my clients. Sometimes it's just straight up dream work. People who love to work on their dreams and to kind of go into where the healing is of those dreams. And really, my message to everyone is in these odd times, and they are surreal times, so to speak, this is a time to channel into your own creativity and find the love, find the answers there. Do dream work. Go to a therapist. Talk to friends about your dreams. Try to remember your dreams. They are precious. They are stepping stones out of the chaos.
I love it. Stepping stones out of the chaos. Thank you so much, Dr. Mollura. It's really a pleasure to have you and hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Anytime.
All right.
It's always fun to talk to you. Be well.
Fabulous. Bye now. So thank you all for listening. The Dream Journal is produced at the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz. We are live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific at ksqd.org. The podcast is released on the Monday after the show. It spreads interest in dreaming when you subscribe, rate, and review. I am Catherine Bell. Find out about my dream coaching practice at experientialdreamwork.com. Email me at catherine@ksqd.org. Follow Experiential Dreamwork and hashtag The Dream Journal on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn to keep up with the shows. I'd like to thank Rick Kleffel, engineer and music creator. Audio editing by Suki Wessling, phones by Eric Nelson. Intro and outro pieces are both by Mood Science. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, take a minute to write down your dream and bring it to the next Dream Journal.
Fall is gone.